Hello, what's up? If you remember my previous video, Narcissist Talks About Addiction, I mentioned being an Enneagram 7 and that I might make a video about it. Well, here it is. I also mentioned in that video that if you're one of those people that say, oh, you can't be this MBTI type and this Enneagram type, I'm going to say the same thing. I don't give a shit, bro. So, anyway, that's not really a response or like argument to that, but I guess, okay, making this video, I will give my understanding in terms of Enneagram, being an Enneagram 7, I think specifically, and how that goes about with me. So, what are Enneagram 7s typically stereotyped as? They're stereotyped as, extremely, oh, happy, positive people, blah, 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 blah. And that's why they're usually typed as SEDOMs, ESTPs, or ESFPs. Well, you know what? Fuck that. I'm here right now, and I'm gonna say that me as an INTP can qualify as a fucking Enneagram 7, and that is my life, and you're not gonna tell me what I fucking struggle with more than I fucking do. So, anyway, what is being a 7 like? Well, you know what? It's a phony and it's a sham. But that's what happiness is. That's what happiness is, in my opinion. It's distraction. It's pleasurable distraction, and it's not real. The reason why so many sevens are into, addictive substances like alcohol, kind of like what I already mentioned a lot in my Narcissist Talks About Addiction video, because it's all about escape. If we look at this whole like Enneagram like system classification thingy, it's all about people's insecurities, right? It's all about people's like problems and shit and whatever they struggle with. So why do you think an Enneagram 7 would have to put on this like happy facade? See, that's exactly what I mean. Happy facade. Because we're not actually happy. Deep inside, we are these miserable creatures filled with I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Pain and negativity. And I'm going to say it right now. Honestly, if you ask me, Enneagram 7s are actually the most pessimistic people you will ever know. If you do manage to even, get to know one. Like, don't tell me that, like, all right, I have a friend, he's an Enneagram 7, blah, 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 and he's always the life of the party, like, whatever. Like, okay, sure. So, in those few glimpses, those few instances you saw in your particular Enneagram 7 friend's life, they're so, happy, whimsy, and full of joy. Captured in moments. What do you think? What do you think is going on when there's no alcohol? What do you think is going on when there's no like fun particular activity? And they're just here, imagine, kind of like how I am right now, like in their own room doing nothing. I guarantee you that is a miserable son of a bitch. And that person feels pain so extremely. That's why they have to go out and about and do hedonistic things or anything for distraction. If you have to make your entire psychological defense the fact that, like, oh, you're such a happy person, or oh, you're doing this or that. And okay, on this channel, I talk about my mental health struggles. You know, I'm a narcissist. If you've seen a lot of my videos and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm very honest. I'm very, like, whatever. But honestly, okay, if we were out at like a party somewhere, we were out just like hanging out or something, you would perhaps think that I'm a pretty decent, like drinking buddy to have. We'd have, shits and giggles and laugh over like the stupidest things. I don't know. And I imagine you could be the same person as well, clicking on my video and like, oh wow, this narcissist whining. Who the fuck likes to watch this? And, click right off. Well, you know what? That's the pure irony. Because a seven's emotional state is so fucking, maybe if I'm just being honest, hella immature. You don't know what to cling on to. Because for me as a 7, I always imagine it as like, okay, like imagine like you're literally on like the middle end of your happy and negative emotions. And with like the slightest tilt, you can lean on either one. And in a way, you will never know who you truly are. Because everybody likes to talk about emotions like they're yin and yang, right? You have your positive ones and you have your negative ones. Well, guess what? Realistically, you cannot live on top all the time. And as a 7, I'm, fully like well aware with that. But guess what? I can't deal with it So I do everything I can to just forget that I have negative emotions. This is why alcohol is so enjoyable. This is why anything that you can get lost in is so enjoyable. Honestly, I don't even play video games as much, but I played video games a lot as a kid because anything just to, not have to experience my actual reality, not have to experience, oh wow, there's this, piece of shit world that's going on with people fighting, people with their agendas and their fucking I don't know, just dumb shit. And at one point, when do you just reach and say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's take a shot. Well, if you're a seven, every single time. When do you reach a point where you're just like, you know what? Like fuck it. Let me pop some pills. I don't fucking know. See, it's not even necessarily about drugs, and to give more like nuance to what, it's anything that can give you pleasure. And honestly, if you're so preoccupied with your own personal satisfaction, even if it's made up, even if it's like temporary, you know you don't have enough. You know you have an empty hole in yourself that can never be fulfilled. So, you know what? If you're a seven, you are not a happy person. And I see through your facade. I don't necessarily, even have to not be on substances. I don't know. At this point, it might sound even like contradictory and whatnot, but I'm trying to make this video, like realistic and stuff. But I'm just like, I am not a happy person. And if you claim to be an Enneagram 7, you are not a happy person either, because it's one thing to just be, I don't know, it's even hard for me to fathom like a genuinely optimistic person versus trying to put up a front that you're, oh, I enjoy life because I can't deal with negative feelings. And sometimes it's not even negative feelings, honestly, it's just constant boredom. If you're a 7, it's just a constant need for stimulation, because if you ask me personally, you just see how stagnating and fake life actually is. And there is no real satisfaction to anything. Because what is life? Oh, just go on to the next thing, move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. And at some point, oh, you can't move on to the next thing because you know why? You're fucking dead. So this is not real. Happiness is not a real emotion. It's a temporary satisfaction from your negative emotions if it's not fucking insane amount of sadness, anger, or not even necessarily those things. Because even once in a while, you get over yourself, and that's boring as shit. Yeah, but then eventually, because of that, you just stay stuck in that boredom. You just stay stuck in that boredom. But you know what? Even boredom is so nauseating. At least when you're a 7, boredom is so fucking nauseating, bro. Sometimes I wonder that, like, if I were to kill myself, I'm not going to, but if I were to like kill myself, it's not even necessarily because like, oh, the struggles or whatever in my life. I mean, maybe that can perhaps like, give in like a contribution. But like a lot of times I just wish, and maybe I'm saying this is in a way like a core of like being a 7, like I don't even want to exist if I'm not experiencing something pleasurable at all. And it's like logically, I'm trying to understand that, like, yes, kind of like what I said before, there's like a yin and yang to like emotions, right? But that is so contradictory to me. Like, to me, that's not logical. I don't understand how we can live in a world where you're supposed to just experience happiness and, negativity. Because, like, if you're a 7, I would say these feelings are the most contradictory thing, like, whatsoever. But as a person, you can't stay in one constant emotion because the emotions are a spectrum, right? So, like, in a way, I feel like if you're a 7, you literally just have an identity crisis. And yes, I'm a narcissist, so everything about me is putting on a front up until I just mellow out, up until I just, like, hollow out, and there's just, absolutely nothing, and I don't even feel like I exist. Because I think what I've noticed as I like process what I think it is to like be a 7, these are just random states. They're not actually me. Like whatever chemicals that arise in my brain to give me like a happy or like negative emotion, they all just disappear. And it's like, technically, I never had to have any of those emotions in order to exist. But because we have this like made up sense of like needing to be somebody, yeah, we latch into emotions, or we've been brainwashed, or we're biologically brainwashed to think that like our emotions are us, even though we're nothing. And okay, and that's why a lot of people tell sevens that like you have to look within and find who you are. But I don't know, I would say as a seven, you are nothing. You are, just these like random mental states. And in a way, you're kind of fucking insane because you can't rationalize these feelings at all. Again, you're just going through mental states. They're no different than like a flick of the switch of like the chemicals or like whatever. And when it's done, it's done. You don't even necessarily have to like look back because you're just going to chase the next pleasure or chase the next pleasure or, nothing because like again, everything it will lead up to is death. So essentially as a seven, I think also like the biggest part and like the biggest core of it is like, okay, you can do as much self-reflection, as you want, but then again you're just like, who cares? Your own existence doesn't even care. So why should you? Who the fuck cares?